Hey guys, we're up here in Detroit and Ford has given us a close-up look at some of the hardware that's going into the Shelby GT500. So today we're going to take a look at the engine, we're going to get a close-up of the transmission, so come along and check it out.
So to jump into the discussion here, you've heard I think the horsepower number, 760 horsepower. We make that at 7,300 RPM. The torque is 625 foot-pounds at 5,000 RPM. What's really interesting over and above that is we make 85% of peak torque from 3,000 RPM all the way to red line, all the way to 7,500 RPM. So that's 537 foot-pounds of torque in a 4,500 RPM band. And what's that mean to the customer? That means a really drivable vehicle, something that's a lot of fun on the racetrack, at the drag strip, and just driving around every day. Very, very capable car. We like to call it the "and" solution, where you get something that you can enjoy every day. You can take it to the road course and enjoy it just as much. Kind of jumping into the engine a little bit, we'll talk about the engine, we'll talk about the dual clutch transmission, we're going to talk about cooling, and we'll get into a couple components here. Okay, first the engine. This is a hand-built engine from Romeo Engine Plant. Okay, it's built alongside the GT350 engine, which you guys know and love. It's a team of two guys own the engine from the cylinder block all the way through to finished assembly. You see their signatures on the top on the badge, just like we've done in the past. It's something that's very special that our UAW partners deliver for us every day. Getting into the architecture of the engine, the cylinder block, and you'll find as I talk through this, although it's based on the GT350 engine, we've touched just about every component in the engine to make it capable of the 760 horsepower. The block, we've improved the structure. Specifically, we put in longer head bolts, moved the first engaged threads down to make it stronger and to give it better clamp load to handle the 125 bar firing pressures that you see with the high output. With that change, we also added an extra active layer in the head gasket, so it's got 4 active layers in the head gasket, again to handle the high firing pressures. We've spent thousands of hours dyno testing and also all the track testing, and we're very pleased with the durability of the entire engine, the sealing system, everything. The heads are an evolution of what we've done from the GT350. They're CNC ported. We went through and we upgraded the springs to higher tension, higher loads, and we've upgraded the seats and the valve materials to handle the higher thermal loads. Moving through the drivetrain, the crank is a cross-plane crank for the added strength to handle the high firing pressures. All new connecting rod, bigger cross-section micro-alloy steel in both the conrod and the crank to handle the really high firing pressures. All new forged piston, 9.5 to 1 compression ratio, and higher flow in the piston cooling jets to take care of the piston to let it handle the thermal loads. Down at the bottom, we got a structural oil pan that ties to the dual clutch transmission. We were looking for an elegant solution that can handle the high G loads that this car delivers. It's pretty tough to have a lubrication system that's functional with 1.5 G's maximum cornering. So we spent a lot of time and effort trying to figure out what that solution was. And here has active baffles. So they swing, they're trap doors, they swing inside the oil pan, and that keeps oil around the pickup tube during those high G maneuvers. And so it's a very elegant way to maintain the package and the weight of the existing product and still improve the performance of the lubrication system and support the performance of the car. So moving up top to the supercharger, the airflow in the supercharger flows, I'm going to stand back here, excuse me. Airflow comes actually underneath, so it's a reverse flow. And so it allows us to tuck the supercharger down in the valley so that we can get it under the elegant hood, the low hood line that we have. And so the airflow comes in underneath, through this Eaton supercharger. It's 2650 cc or 2.65 liters. And the airflow comes up through the intercooler and then out through to the cylinder heads. It has a one-way clutch here to handle the torsional loads that you see with a big supercharger like this, so that it stays quiet and smooth and durable. The intercooler is worth talking about as we move kind of over into cooling in a bit. This intercooler is sized so that we don't get any heat soak. So you get consistent performance for an entire session on the track. And when I say an entire session, you can run this car out of gas and you'll still be getting full performance. It's an air-to-water intercooler. It has its own cooling loop. It's a low-temp cooling loop. Okay, moving along, we'll get over to the cooling system here. The front end of this car is 50% larger than the GT350 to give us the airflow that's needed to cool this car. When you make 760 horsepower with a supercharged engine, you actually have to make more than that gross power. So for a cooling system standpoint, it has to cool an engine that's producing well over 850 gross. So it's a substantial uplift from the 526 horsepower of the GT350. Okay, so we've got 6 coolers on this, 6 heat exchangers. We've actually got an auxiliary water radiator for the engine on the left side, and then we've got the oil cooler on the right side, and we've got a stack of coolers throughout. Feel free to walk around and check it out. There's a massive amount of heat this thing is capable of rejecting. And now for a really special part of this car, the dual clutch transmission. This is our and solution. So we knew when we created this car capable of this kind of output that we needed a powertrain, a drive line that could complement it, could give us something that was fast and smooth, was very capable on the track and at the drag strip and with everyday driving. So we partnered with Tremec to do this dual clutch transmission, or DCT. It's a wet dual clutch setup. It's got 7 forward gears. It's the first dual clutch transmission in this class of car, and we're very pleased with its performance and its drivability. Everyday driving, you'll find that it's smooth, it's docile, it's easy to drive. When we take it to the track, it's crisp, it's very fast shifting. And with the paddle shifts, you have the choice of driving it as in manual mode or in 5 different modes of 5 different modes. So we can drive it in normal mode, we can drive it sport. We'll talk about these more in a minute. We have a drag mode, we have a track mode, and we have a slippery mode. Normal, everyday driving, going to the grocery store, going to church, whatever, relaxing day with your family. Sport mode for that spirited driving, crisp, really, really fast shifts. And when I say really fast, it's faster than a blink of an eye. It's 80 milliseconds. So imagine 3 to 4 times faster than a blink of an eye. 80 milliseconds, it'll shift. So we have the slippery mode, which when you get caught out in this beautiful car on not such a nice day, get the surprising Michigan weather, as we all know. You've got a mode that makes it easier to drive when it's wet. And then we have the track and drag modes. So drag isn't actually, interestingly enough, the fastest shift doesn't always make the fastest car. So sometimes you want to slow down a little bit so that you apply the maximum amount of torque to the rear wheel. And so in drag mode, we slow the shift down just a little bit to make sure that we're putting the maximum amount of torque to the rear wheel at all times. So it's a really clever transmission and control system. In track mode, a little different than drag mode, in the straight line, it'll do something similar to that. But then we have sensors that tell us when we're in a corner. Well, you don't want that over torque bump in the middle of a corner. You want a nice settled chassis. So in track mode, we have this set up so that drivers that are very capable, that are driving at the limit of the car, can actually shift in the middle of a corner and not unsettle a chassis. Any good driver will tell you, you normally pick a gear and leave it in a gear in the middle of the corner. This car, this transmission is so smooth that they can shift in the middle of the corner, get to the maximum performance gear that they want, and not worry about unsettling the car. It is absolutely fantastic. To achieve that, we had to couple our calibration team with the Tremec calibration team. So we had 2 engineers living on site with us every day, working closely with us, of doing 0 to 100 and back to 0 in 10.6 seconds. So when you think about it, the original Shelby Cobra, we all know and love, it did 13.6 seconds. It's 3 seconds faster. This is in supercar territory. There are very few cars in the world that can run in this range.